You are lying in bed at 2 a.m. Your eyes are heavy, your body desperately craves rest. But inside your head, a fierce debate is raging. One voice tells you to close your eyes. Another voice reminds you of an awkward conversation from 5 years ago. A third voice is suddenly planning a completely new career path. Why can't your mind just be quiet? You usually assume you are a single, unified person. You think of yourself as the absolute ruler of your thoughts. But the real answer is far stranger. You are actually a crowded committee room. Your brain is not a single mind. It is a collection of ancient, independent programs fighting for control. Why does this internal warfare exist? To understand this chaos, you have to look at how your brain was built. Evolution does not design things from scratch. It does not erase the old code when it writes the new code. Instead, it piles new layers on top of ancient systems. Your survival brain sits at the bottom. Your emotional brain wraps around it. Your rational brain is just a thin outer crust. Do you think these layers always agree? They have entirely different priorities. The ancient parts care about immediate survival and safety. The newer parts care about long-term planning and social reputation. They speak different languages. They want different things. Think about a simple decision like eating a piece of chocolate cake. One part of your brain sees the sugar. It remembers the harsh winters of your evolutionary past. It screams at you to consume the calories immediately. Another part of your brain remembers your fitness goals. It reminds you of the mirror. A third part calculates the social shame of breaking your diet in front of others. Who wins this argument? The entity you call I is usually just the spectator watching the fight play out. This is not just a metaphor. In the 1960s, a neuroscientist named Michael Gazzaniga began studying split-brain patients. These were individuals who had the connection between their left and right brain hemispheres severed to treat severe epilepsy. The corpus callosum, the thick band of nerve fibers connecting the two sides, was completely cut. The results were shocking. Gazzaniga discovered that the two sides of the brain could operate completely independently, experiencing separate sensations and forming separate intentions. In one famous experiment, he showed a picture of a chicken claw to the left hemisphere and a snow scene to the right hemisphere. The patient then had to choose related pictures from a set using their hands. The patient's right hand, controlled by the left hemisphere, picked a chicken. The patient's left hand, controlled by the right hemisphere, picked a shovel. When Gazzaniga asked the patient why their left hand was holding a shovel, something incredible happened. The left hemisphere, which handles speech and language, did not have access to the visual information the right hemisphere saw. It did not see the snow scene. It did not know why the left hand was holding a shovel. Yet, it did not say, "I don't know." It immediately invented a story. It looked at the chicken and said, the shovel was needed to clean out the chicken coop. The speech center of the brain did not actually know the truth, but it refused to admit ignorance. It acted as an interpreter. It fabricated a plausible narrative to maintain the illusion of absolute consistency. Are you doing the exact same thing every single day? Your subconscious modules make a decision based on hidden biological impulses, and your conscious mind simply invents a beautiful, logical reason for it afterwards to protect your ego. This brings us to the work of evolutionary psychologist Robert Kurzban. He argues that the human mind is thoroughly modular. It consists of dozens of specialized cognitive tools designed to solve specific ancestral problems. One module handles mate attraction. Another module handles predator defense. Another module manages social hierarchy. Another module focuses on tracking reciprocal favors within the tribe. These modules are not connected to a central command center or a grand wise overseer. They are semi-autonomous units. They often hold completely contradictory beliefs at the exact same time because consistency is expensive and evolution only cares about survival. Why do you feel like a hypocrite sometimes? It is because one module is active when you make a promise on Sunday night, but a completely different module takes over when it is time to wake up early on Monday morning. The module that wants sleep does not care about the module that wants a promotion. Imagine your brain as a modern smartphone. You have a banking app that wants you to save money for the future. You have a shopping app that wants you to spend money right now. You have a fitness app that wants you to run 5 miles in the rain. You have a food delivery app that wants you to eat hot pizza on the couch. Do these apps talk to each other? No, they do not share data. They do not care about each other's goals. They simply compete for your screen time and notification alerts. When the shopping app is open, you feel a powerful logical urge to buy that new gadget. When the banking app opens a minute later, you feel instant regret and shame. You blame yourself for lacking willpower. But the truth is simply that a different app has gained temporary control of your consciousness. Who is the person holding the phone? Psychologist Charles Fernyhough has spent years investigating how this internal conversation actually develops from childhood. He discovered that your inner dialogue is not just random cognitive noise. It is an internalized version of social interaction. When you were a toddler, you talked out loud to yourself while playing with blocks. You told yourself which piece to move and where to place the roof. This is what psychologists call private speech. As you grew older, around the age of 7 or 8, that external speech went underground. It became silent, condensed inner speech. Your internal arguments mirror the exact debates you have with other people in the real world. You play both the prosecutor and the defense attorney in your own head. Why does this dialogic structure persist throughout your entire adulthood? Because your brain is fundamentally wired for social navigation and cooperative problem solving. It processes information best when it can split a problem into different perspectives and debate them. This creates a strange, beautiful paradox. You spend your entire life inside your own head, yet you do not fully know what is happening in there. You are constantly surprised by your own emotional reactions. You find yourself shouting at someone you deeply love. You find yourself eating the junk food you swore you would avoid. You find yourself procrastinating on the project that determines your entire career. Who is driving the car? The truth is that no one is driving the car. The car is an autonomous vehicle governed by a shifting coalition of competing algorithms. Your conscious awareness is not the driver. It is just a passenger sitting in the front seat, reading the trip data out loud and pretending they chose the route. Let us look closer at how these ancient modules clash with the modern environment. Your ancestors lived in small hunter-gatherer bands, where social exclusion meant literal death. If the tribe abandoned you, you starved in the wilderness or were hunted by predators. Therefore, your brain developed a hypersensitive social anxiety module. It constantly monitors your status within the group. It obsesses over every micro-expression on your boss's face during a meeting. It replays your social blunders on an endless loop while you try to rest. Meanwhile, your modern environment introduces completely artificial social stakes that your ancient brain cannot comprehend. A negative comment from a stranger on the internet triggers the exact same life-or-death panic as being exiled from the prehistoric tribe. Your rational module knows the comment does not matter. It understands that the stranger is thousands of miles away and cannot harm you. But your evolutionary safety module does not care about modern logic. It feels the threat. It is ready to fight for its life. This internal division explains why self-discipline feels so deeply unnatural. You cannot simply command yourself to be disciplined by sheer force of will. You cannot just tell your brain to focus on a spreadsheet for 8 hours straight without resistance. When you try to force yourself to work, the boredom module activates. It perceives the lack of immediate physical or sensory reward as a critical error. It reminds you that there are sweeter fruits to gather or social bonds to strengthen elsewhere in the environment. It creates a physical sensation of restlessness and anxiety. Your rational module tries to push back with abstract arguments about future rent payments and career milestones. The two modules engage in a brutal war of attrition inside your skull. You experience this subconscious warfare as a painful mental exhaustion. Have you ever noticed how tiring it is just to sit still and think? The illusion of a single, unified self is actually a clever evolutionary trick. If you admitted to the world that you were a fractured mess of competing desires, no one would trust you. No one wants to cooperate or trade with an unpredictable collection of disconnected apps. Therefore, your brain creates the press secretary module. This is the conscious entity you think of as me. Its primary job is not to make decisions. Its job is to justify the decisions already made by the underlying modules to the outside world. It spins the data. It rebrands your sudden impulses as carefully calculated choices. It ensures you present a unified, confident, and trustworthy front to your tribe. You fool yourself so that you can more effectively fool others. What happens when you finally realize this profound truth? The constant arguing in your head stops feeling like a personal failure or a psychological defect. You stop viewing yourself as a broken mechanism that needs to be fixed. You begin to understand that the internal friction is a feature of human design, not a bug. Your internal debates are simply the sound of a highly sophisticated evolutionary computer processing complex trade-offs in real time. The voice of anxiety is just a security app running a routine threat scan. The voice of laziness is just an energy conservation program preventing systemic burnout. The voice of ambition is a status tracker pushing you toward resource accumulation. They are all trying to help you survive, but they are using outdated maps from a world that no longer exists. The next time you find yourself trapped in an internal screaming match at night, change your strategy entirely. Stop trying to argue back with your own thoughts. Stop trying to violently suppress the voices. Instead, view them as separate entities, sitting around a conference table. Listen to the anxiety module. Acknowledge its concern for your safety. Then look at the rational module and ask for its modern data. When you change your relationship with your inner committee, the entire nature of the noise changes. The arguments do not disappear completely, but they lose their emotional teeth and their power over your mood. You shift from being the helpless victim of the mental storm to being the weather station observing its movement. Tonight, when you lie down in the dark, the committee will gather once again. The voices will argue about your past mistakes, your future uncertainties, and your deepest personal flaws. You will feel the familiar, powerful urge to jump into the fray and defend yourself. You will want to fight your own thoughts until the morning light arrives. But now you know what is actually happening beneath the surface. The apps are simply running their nightly updates. The ancient programs are testing their defensive parameters. You do not need to settle the debate to find peace. You just need to realize that the person watching the argument is the one who finally gets to sleep.